Hello everyone. Today's interview is with a key man involved in Shenmue III. This is a man who helped revive Shenmue III from the dead and has also become a focal point for the community in terms of answering our questions and various other queries that we've had over the years. He's also the owner of Shibuya Productions and also organises the Magic Monaco event held in Monaco every year. The man is Cedric Biscay. During this hour-long sit-down interview, Cedric discusses with me Shenmue 3, and the future of the franchise going forward. We also touch on Cedric's future projects and ambitions for his company Shibuya Productions. So my first question is sort of for those who are new to the Shenmue community. Could you tell me a little bit about yourself, Shibuya Productions, and any sort of key works that you've done to date?
Well, I'm Cedric Biscay, and I'm just a anime and video games lover first. But of course, I always dreamed to work in those industries. So in 2002, I created my first company. The name is Shibuya International, which is a consulting company, mainly in business and culture between Europe and Japan. Thanks to that company, I made a huge network, especially in Japan. And then I decided to create in 2014 Shibuya Production, which is a production company dedicated to animated series, video games, documentary, manga, and even we organize events. And of course, contents that you probably heard about is the documentary on Netflix, Sad Hill Ernest. We also are working on Astro Boy animated series. We have made also the Twin Mirror game, and we organize, of course, the event Magic in Monaco and in Kyoto as well. So yeah, we have made a lot of work in only 6 years.
Yeah, well, it sounds very much so. It sounds like things have expanded quickly from when you set yourselves up.
Yes, I'm very motivated by working in that industry because it's like a dream. When I was a kid, I was just playing and just mentioned to myself, "Oh, I would love to work in those fields." And those days, I can do it. So I'm very happy for that because when I created the first company, I didn't have any money to make production, so I had to wait many years in order to start what I really wanted to do.
Brilliant, and it's nice to hear sort of that backstory because I think it's a little known fact actually. Obviously, you set yourself up from the ground up and built this company, and are now very, very successful and very well known. So it's certainly the games industry. So yeah, and Magic, and we'll touch on Magic later. But having attended, and I've said this to you privately, is I really enjoyed it when I came in 2019, and I would recommend to anybody who's into anime or video games, it's well worth the trip. Make sure you get an opportunity to go when this pandemic disappears.
Yes, hopefully let's make it disappear.
Yeah. So you've touched on sort of my next question already. Actually, you said you're a lover of video games, like most of us. What's your history with Sega and the Sega consoles? What was your first Sega console?
If I remember well, and I'm sure I am, my first own Sega console was a Game Gear. But my favorite one was Sega Saturn.
Excellent. Any particular favorite games on the Sega Saturn?
Wow, I love many games on Sega Saturn. Let's be original because I like, of course, video game like Enemy Zero or this kind of stuff. But I also enjoy a lot game like a Fighter Megamix, for example, or Radiant Silvergun. Of course, Panzer Dragon. All those games I really like a lot.
Excellent. Yeah, Panzer Dragon's a favourite. Have you played the remastered version yet at all?
I didn't really play it, but I was able to try it several months ago in Sega because one of my connection in Sega was testing the game. Maybe it was 1 year and a half ago. I don't remember exactly, so I was able to test it. It's very confidential, of course.
Brilliant. I love that. I love it. I played it. It's really good, actually. I quite enjoy. I love Panzer Dragon. It's a cult title on the Saturn now, actually, and the sort of holy grail of it is.
It's so great because you had a perfect shooting game with a very nice music, because the music in Panzer Dragon is amazing, and also I'm French, and in the Panzer Dragon 1 on the CD of the Japanese version, I'm not sure about the other, but there is a nice design by Moebius. So Moebius was a famous, let's say, cartoonist, and that's so great to see that nice design on a video game. So I was very happy to see that.
Fantastic, and I think the remaster, they did a really good job on it. It's very true to the original, and yeah, I mean, I picked it up and loved it. So I'm going to move us into the Dreamcast and our favorite series, which is Shenmue.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. When did you first sort of hear of Shenmue? When did you first play it, and what made it stand out for you?
But I think the first time I heard about Shenmue was in, I don't know exactly the date, but probably it was 1998 or 1999, because I remember the game was released at the very end of the year of 99, but we could check everything on the magazine before, of course, and every player were waiting about that game. In my case, the first time I played Shenmue was in 2000 on the Japanese version of the Dreamcast, of course, and it was a shock for me because I was prepared about the very nice graphics because of the magazine, in France, and probably the same in UK and US. But at that time, we imported a lot of magazine like Famitsu or others, and so we were able to see everything. But I was not prepared about the very nice open world we had at that time. The simple fact to talk with people and get answer, and to be able to knock the doors. It's so basic now when you say that, but at that time it was totally fantastic. And also, it's very small thing, but for me it was always big. The mini games, to be able to have mini games in a game, including arcade game, it was really amazing, because you can decide to follow the adventure, or just to stop and do nice things or stupid things that you really enjoy. And for me, that permits to the player to have the choice, and that's very important in a game, to have the choice what you want to do. Do you want to go straight forward? Do you want to spend a lot of time in the main adventure, or do you want to make some seaside work? That's that's what I like in Shenmue. And of course, last but not least, but the fact that we can have very nice fights, because it's really cool to have adventure game when you can fight as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And did you have a favorite mini game of the original Shenmue series?
I really remember, I don't know in English, or it's the mini game when you fight, like a boxing.
Oh yeah, like the street fights.
Yeah, that's the one I like a lot. That's very basic, but I can spend a lot of time on it. But I am easy to convince for mini games, because for example, it's totally stupid once again, but in Shenmue 3, when you cut woods, I spend so many hours to cut wood and get some I record or this kind of thing. So yes, I'm so easy to convince.
No, I share your sentiment with the wood chopping. That game's addictive, really
Yes.
addictive. I don't know why, because it's such a simple idea, isn't it? Wood chopping, but it's so addictive.
Yeah,
I don't.
that's because it's a special ambient of Shenmue. I think
Yeah,
that's all. For us, it's so cool to have this, and we understand. I think many players cannot understand because they cannot feel the flavor of this type of game.
yeah, I think if you immerse yourself in it, it's very easy to get lost in Shenmue's world, and I think that's what it did so well, especially at the time and now. Actually, I think it creates a world that you can immerse yourself in, for want of a better expression.
Yes, yes. I mean, in Shenmue, you can feel something. You can feel
Yes,
something, and also I don't want once again to talk like a very old player, but in the past, so in 2000, you have to. It's difficult to get game like that. You have to import the game. You have a dedicated Japanese Dreamcast, so it means you spend a lot of time on each game. It's not like today. Today it's like a Netflix of video games. You have a game, or it's not good, you just drop it and have another one. At that time it's difficult. You need when you choose a game, except if you are very rich, you need to complete the game maybe one time, two times, three times, 10 times. So that's why we have this flavor of Shenmue because this adventure was so great and it was so good to have this adventure again. So yeah, so that's particular.
yeah, no, I agree with that, and I think games have changed a lot over the years, and I think Shenmue's had a big influence on those. And speaking of influence on video games, is obviously Mr. Yu Suzuki himself.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask, how did you come about meeting Yu Suzuki, and what were your first impressions of him?
Well, I was introduced by one of my connection in the video game industry. I don't remember exactly about the date, honestly, but
Hmm.
probably it was around 2009 or this kind of date. I remember I met him at certain occasion, but the first time I really talk with him was near Macquarie. In the past there is some Sega office in not Macquarie, Haneda, sorry, near Haneda, and he had his office there, and I met him in order to invite him into an event in France. So that's the first time I had a real business discussion with him, and of course we discussed about Shenmue because I am just a fanboy, as you know. So so it was time to discuss, but on a generally topic. So nothing special at that time.
Not, yeah. And what was your first impression of Yu Suzuki, having obviously been introduced to him? What were your first thoughts when you met him?
But honestly, the first impression was he's so nice and humble.
Mm.
Because uh, if I was just a French coming in the office and ask about very simple thing. I mean, he's a busy man,
Yeah.
a legend of a video game, and I was just a guy, fan of Sega and Shenmue, etc., and interested to invite him. So I was very happy he accepted that. And yes, and we discussed about games, his games. That's what I like. For me, that's really cool to have direct talk with the creator of games, and he showed me also some merchandise from Shenmue, etc. Some things that I've never seen before, because there is many prototype of many things, and probably your fans at Shenmue Dojo want all those items.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, we do. We do.
So I'm sure about that. So when he showed me that, I remember about some watches, some many things like that, and it's really cool for me to see that at that time.
Fantastic. And I understand you both share a love of red wine. Is that correct?
Yes, for sure we are red wine lovers, and I remember one of my best souvenir with Yu Suzuki, except all the dinners we had in Japan with very nice wine, was the trip we had in the Napa Valley in US, because we were just two of us during 2 days drinking wine in Napa Valley. That was really nice.
Lovely. It sounds really, really good. I'm going to move it into Shenmue 3 a little bit now. Obviously, you said you're like any of us, we're at heart Shenmue fanboys, for want of a better expression. How did your first sort of initial interest in Shenmue 3 and being involved in that project come about? How did that happen?
That's a little bit strange, huh? But when I finished, I was just a student, huh? But when I finished Shenmue 2, I was frustrated, as many people probably.
Yeah.
And one of my targets in my business life was to make Shenmue 3. So I said to myself, I really want to make that game, because we heard about the situation with the Dreamcast, etc. Everything was over, and it was not possible to expect Shenmue 3 after that. So of course I didn't have any idea that I would do it for real. So the first interest was there. But when I met Yu Suzuki and we have discussed about business, it was not possible to do Shenmue 3 because of copyright, because of many things, many problems to solve, before to think about Shenmue 3. So we had the idea to make a game together. Yeah. Not Shenmue, and so I offer a very nice opportunity to Yu Suzuki to work in a game with a big license of anime, but I cannot give any more details to you today. But it was really big. But unfortunately, that game could not happen because of negotiation, etc. It was not possible to make it happen, but it took time to reach to that answer, and the situation regarding Shenmue changed by that time. And then Yu Suzuki said to me, "Oh, now we can make Shenmue 3 together." So that's how it starts. And because he knew that I wanted to make this Shenmue 3 happen, so he thought about myself to make it, and I was so grateful, of course.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and we're grateful that you came on board, because there's obviously a lot of things that went on behind the scenes. I'm going to talk just before the Kickstarter launched now.
Yeah.
So you've got the Shenmue license, and you know the Kickstarter's about to launch. What were your feelings before the Shenmue 3 announcement, and did you think it would be the success that it was?
Honestly, I thought that it would be very big, and it was, of course, very difficult to keep the secret, because we knew that quite long time before. And if you remember well about that date, Yu Suzuki teased on Twitter forklifts, but at that time nobody cared a lot. I think it was strange, because for me, if I think back about that, it was a real tease. I mean, everyone should notice about that, but most of the people probably gave up, I guess, because except some people, but very few, nobody pay attention about that, except Sony, because Sony was not happy about this tweet. So, but that's normal because we all knew what we will announce. And in my position when I arrived in the stadium, because it was in a Los Angeles stadium, the conference of Sony, it was really strange feeling for me because I knew that Final Fantasy VII will be announced.
Wow. Okay.
So for me, it's Final Fantasy VII remake. Wow, it's big competition for Shenmue. So yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I think it will be big, even if this. But also when I crossed the room, I mean the stadium extra, and took my seat, I saw my friend Fumito Ueda. You know, the creator of the Last Guardian.
I love that game.
Yeah.
Great game.
And I didn't know that, about the Last Guardian, but what I knew is if he's here, because he usually does not trip for nothing, if he's here, for sure, we will have announcement of the Last Guardian as well, for sure. So it means, in my mind, I knew that we will have the Last Guardian and the Final Fantasy VII remake in front of Shenmue 3 announcement. So I was confident, but you know, it was I wanted to check what will happen. I was very confident first, and then after those two news, okay, let's see what happened. And it was, of course, fantastic when the announcement has been done, because all the people around me were crying. For real, and those people were journalists. You know, it was an event for press, so all the people were crying and say, "Oh, that's a miracle," etc. Well, so yeah, it's really a great souvenir, especially, you know, at that time I remember how it was difficult to convince people to make Shenmue 3, because you know, when the situation with the copyright has been solved, we need with Yu Suzuki to convince Sega with a formal proposal, etc. So it was not easy, you know. It was not just like, okay, Sega just say to Yu Suzuki, okay, you can do it. No, we had to convince. We had to bring some partner investment, etc. So it was not easy. So when finally we were able to announce it, it was wow, so great. We did it. At least the announcement.
Yes, I mean that E3, even when you consider Last Guardian, Final Fantasy VII, and then Shenmue 3, I stayed up for that E3 because of the forklift tweet. And I know I spoke to Ryan Payton about it, and he was like, I remember he said to Yu Suzuki, "Are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure?" And he did it anyway. And I remember our forums being very, very busy the night of the E3. So when that first note hit of Shenmue 3, if I could bottle and sell the way it felt, the only thing that would surpass it is my wedding day.
Yeah, sure.
It was honestly, it's such an amazing experience. So before I sort of go on to my next question, you picked up on, obviously you had to convince Sega and Sony to sort of obviously allow to get this going, if you like, without obviously going into too many details you're not allowed to, of course. Did it need a lot of convincing to Sega and Sony to get this project moving?
No, for Sony, it was not too long discussion. You know, the most important thing was to secure with Sega, because they are the IP owner. Without Sega, it was totally impossible to move forward on Shenmue 3. Regarding Sony, you know, it's a win-win situation. For Sony, it's fantastic to have a great announcement during the press conference at E3. And you know, Sony knew, of course, about the Final Fantasy VII remake and the Last Guardian. Of course, if they are able to secure Shenmue 3 announcement, they just break the game. You know, they can drop the mic and okay, E3 is over. And that was the case. In my opinion, that E3 was totally amazing. So in exchange of course that visibility and the investment of Sony, of course that was normal that the game was exclusive on PS4. That was the deal. That's very clear. If you pay for an exclusivity, but you have the exclusivity, and of course you can have the announcement on your press show. That's quite easy to understand and quite easy to make when you have a big IP like Shenmue.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's very interesting to sort of hear a little bit about those discussions behind the scenes. And I know there's a clamour from some for the Xbox version, but obviously, as you say, they've paid for the exclusivity, so it's not going to move, and quite rightly so, because that's the deal that's been made.
Exactly, and I think it was clear since day one.
Yes,
because that's not a big news. In business and in life, when you take a risk, you sometimes are able to get some benefits, and it was the case for Sony. The risk was not big, of course, to welcome Shenmue 3 as exclusive on PS4, but they took it. And other console manufacturers didn't do it, so that's clear. That's clear, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, completely. And it makes perfect sense in my head. So, okay, then, before I move into sort of the development of Shenmue 3 itself, did you have a target in your mind with the Kickstarter? I know it surpassed its original $2 million mark within hours. Did you have a mark in your head that you thought it would reach? And if so, did it go above that?
Honestly, I thought we can get 10 million on Kickstarter.
Brilliant.
Because I was completely sure about the Shenmue IP, and if you remember at that time when we smashed the Kickstarter, etc., we got many articles, not only of course article in the dedicated video game press, but in the global press as well, including Time, etc. So I'm convinced that if we were able to manage the Kickstarter in a better way, give concrete answers to the people, it was possible to get 10 million. For example, you mentioned about Sony earlier. It was so easy to make a statement that okay, Sony got the exclusivity and put that money on the table, and that's all. That's it. And continue to give on Kickstarter. I remember that it was unclear for the people, and people thought that Sony will finance the game, which is not true.
That. I remember that vividly.
But it's clearly a problem of communication. Unfortunately, we were not in charge of this, but it's clearly. I think if the communication were better, well, I think no problem to reach the $10 million.
Yeah, I'd agree on the communication front. I mean, it's difficult because my dojo co-owner James has just run a Kickstarter, and he said he has a newfound appreciation for running one because of how difficult it can be. But I do. One of the discussion points was the communication of the Kickstarter, and that there were a lot of articles out at the time that, as you say, were saying that Sony were financing the game, which was, it's completely untrue. We know that, but I think that message needs to be clearer, didn't it, from the offset, that no, Sony have got exclusivity, but that's it. Everything else is Kickstarter plus whatever funding's been secured elsewhere. But I'd love to go back to it and just see how it would have changed. But I think you're right. I do think it probably would have raised more had that happened. But it's gone, hasn't it? And it doesn't take away from the success of it, does it?
Yeah, but that's normal. I'm a very fair person, and I totally understand the purpose of Kickstarter, and I really, now maybe it's different than before, but when Kickstarter has been created, it was in order to permit to creator to finance their project. And in the case of Shenmue 3, it was the case. A creator want to finance his project. But of course, if in your communication you are not clear about the team, it brings some fog, and people might think that you don't use Kickstarter in the proper way, which is not true for Shenmue 3, because without Kickstarter, it's not possible to make it.
No,
So
absolutely.
that's clear, because Kickstarter is money, but it's also a part of the marketing. You raise awareness about Shenmue 3, etc., and people more and more contribute. And fortunately for Shenmue, there is a active community around, including Dojo, Shenmue Master, etc., in Spain, etc. There is many websites with fans of Shenmue, and thanks to the community, we were able to make this happen, because otherwise, if it's just a press feedback, it would be bad, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the community sort of joined together with Yu Suzuki, yourself, and the team around the Kickstarter to get that information out there, to get the correct information out there, and it certainly helped, I think, going forward. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the development now of Shenmue 3, because obviously it's a big project. Lots of changes. Obviously, Deep Silver came in 2017, if my memory's correct. Do you have a particular moment in development that you find the most satisfying during the project?
There is, of course, several moments. I think the first one is very easy to understand. It's the first time I took the pad and played Rio.
Yeah.
When when it happened, it's really I can play Shenmue 3, even if it's the graphics were so bad, etc. at that time, because it was first it was not finalized, everything. But okay, we are making it happen for real. For me, it was the first time, and of course, after that, during the development process, I was very happy to see how we can make the fights happen, etc. Also the mini games, and because all those things are Shenmue. So
yes.
we wanted to make sure that we have those basics things related to Shenmue in the game, because it's very important for the fans and the players. Maybe we will talk later about that, but it's always important to take care about the people who will buy the game. And who buy the game? First, there is Kickstarter contributors, and Kickstarter contributors are mainly fans of Shenmue, so we cannot just betray the fans of Shenmue and release a game, a different game, So we need to keep the flavor of Shenmue. And in another hand, we need, of course, to satisfy new potential players. So that's not easy to balance that, but hopefully I think we manage that.
Yeah, we'll touch on sort of Shenmue 3, the game itself, in a little bit. But from my personal perspective, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And it followed on naturally from Shenmue 2, because I played Shenmue 1, Shenmue 2 just in time for Shenmue 3's release. So it was a nice natural follow-on, and it slotted in really, really well for me. But I'll touch on that more in a bit, I think. One, obviously, talking about the development again, is obviously there were a lot of challenges involved in the development, including the budget, the fact that it changed obviously when you had further investment from Deep Silver. One thing you touched on was there was obviously some things that were cut, and this was in March when you spoke to us on your Q&A on Facebook. Without obviously getting yourself into trouble, is there anything stand out that you wanted in the game but couldn't get in due to the time constraints or due to the budget or other circumstances?
The main problem for us were easy to understand. It's just the money.
Yeah.
Because we have a big creator, and a big creator needs big money. So if you want to let Yu Suzuki make a perfect game, he can do it without any problem. But you need a lot of money in order to permit him to do it. And that's why, in Shenmue 3, a part of my job was to find partner, investment, etc. So Shibuya Production invested a lot, massively, in that game. And later we had the publisher who came in the Shenmue 3 development. But even with those partners, and the money were not enough. It's not like the other Shenmue, So Shenmue 3 is, if you want to make a real open world, etc., like a GTA, you need the 40 million euro.
Yeah.
So it was absolutely not the case for Shenmue 3. So it's the only one frustration, not able to put all we want in Shenmue 3. But in another hand, one of the most important thing, for me and for Yusan as well. But if I talk just about myself in my business or in my life, most important thing is to release it, make the thing concrete, because you can take your time many years without releasing anything. And do you want that? Many people wait for 20 years for Shenmue 3 and say, oh, we can wait more. But that's not true. If you wait more, there is a chance that it will not be released, My focus is to release the game. I do. And Shenmue 3 is the same situation for Shenmue 3. So I really wanted to make it happen. And so we succeeded to make it happen with that budget. And I think the result is nice compared to the budget we had.
Yeah, I think and this is again, excuse me, is my opinion on it. I think for the budget you had, and I'll sort of put this into some context for everybody. Obviously, the Kickstarter fund, you don't get all of those funds because Kickstarter take their fees out of it. Plus, they take you have to pay for the rewards, don't you? So you lose a good chunk of that, don't you? So already you've lost a couple of $1 million to that.
Exactly.
So that's a chunk of budget gone. You've then got to consider that there's 2 recordings of terms of translated dubs in there, English and Japanese, which isn't cheap. You've got motion capture. You've then got to build the game from scratch and this is something that Ryan Payton touched on with me, is actually the whole game was built from scratch. There was no access to the source code, as I understand it, from the originals.
Yeah.
So you're building a game with no reference to the original source code in an engine that it's still relatively new on a platform that's still relatively new. So they've had to put all this time into building the game systems before you can look at everything else. And what we've ended up with is 2 relatively large open world areas that you can explore at your leisure, 2 dubs, a fighting system, and a game that, for me at least, and I think to the wider fan base, despite obviously some well-publicized criticisms around the story content, is a game that is faithful to Shenmue and faithful to the fan base. And I think what you've achieved and what you had is phenomenal work, quite frankly. But that's just my humble opinion on it.
No, I of course agree. But as I said to you, I'm a very fair guy. What you say is totally true, but you are a specialist of game. The mass player, mass audience, they totally don't care about the behind the scene.
No.
They are just interested to buy a game and play it, and they totally don't care about the difficulties you might have, etc. But I understand that, because as a consumer, sometimes you buy something, you just want the result. We don't care about the problems, etc. But and in Shenmue, that's what is good, is the community and the real players. I mean, the players with experience, etc. They all know about that. But of course, the people who play Fortnite and GTA, most of or this kind of game, they cannot understand, because they have a vision of what is a PS4 game, and Shenmue 3, according to them, doesn't fit that vision. But in my opinion, Shenmue 3 is a real PS4 game without any hesitation. If you see some graphics, if you see the story, etc., I think it's a real PS4 game without any doubt. It's not, of course, Last of Us, but there is space for other games, right? It's like in the cinema. You are not only interested about Avengers and blockbuster. Sometimes you have another types of movie. That's the same in the video game industry. You have to give chance to various games, and I think Shenmue 3 is one of them.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And the Shenmue community is very, 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 very vocal. There may not be that many of us, but we're very, very vocal. And I think while we are a small part of gaming as a whole, lots of people have heard of Shenmue and its community. And you make a valid point, actually. Very recently, obviously, the current controversy around Cyberpunk and the PS4 and base Xbox versions from the last generation, and how some gamers don't necessarily want to understand what's happened previously as to why it's come out. Now, it's a different topic of conversation that I won't go into too much, but it's very interesting, some of the similarities around the reactions to certain things, but I'll leave that there, I think, now. So you've touched on this as well, actually, within the development of Shenmue 3. You talked about the communication, you'd like that to have been different looking back. Is there anything else that you'd have liked to have done differently with Shenmue 3 now you've had a year to look at the project as a whole?
Of course, as I said, for sure, the management of the Kickstarter, the communication, okay, but we discussed about that. But also, I think it's not in the development itself, but in the marketing. I think a game like Shenmue deserves a big partner for marketing, and it was, the work done by the publisher was not enough. I think Shenmue is a big name. There is a big community, etc., and we need to explain why this game is so special. And it's the job of the team to explain. Of course, once again, we are lucky enough to have a big community, but it's not enough. We need to invest in marketing. We need to attend several shows. We need to make a lot of things. We did some things, but I really think it's not enough. And I think if we do the Shenmue 4 in the future, we need to take over this.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't want to sort of speak ill of anybody, because I think that'd be unfair of me. But do you think the publisher understood how special Shenmue 3 was?
In terms of fame, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But except that, I'm not sure.
Okay, no, it's just an interesting question. I think you echo some sentiments in the community that the marketing. I don't think the way it wasn't. Yeah, I think you're right. It just wasn't enough. It didn't explain enough about why new people should come into this franchise and why it was so special. But it's something, as you say, with Shenmue 4, and I'm touching every bit of wood I've got in the house around me at the moment, that it does happen. That it's a learning curve for Shenmue 4, isn't it? At the end of the day, in terms of what you did with Shenmue 3, how you can improve and build on. And I actually think Shenmue 3 as a game is a solid base for Shenmue 4 going forward. I think you've got a real solid base there to really have Shenmue 4 be the same that Shenmue 2 was to Shenmue 1, in that Shenmue 1 sets everything up and Shenmue 2 runs away with it in terms of the story, in terms of the content. And I think Shenmue 4 equally could do that with the basis of Shenmue 3. Now, you may not be able to comment on this, so by all means tell me you can't. Were you satisfied with the market performance of Shenmue 3, or is it something you can't comment on at this time?
It's of course a very difficult question, and I will not answer directly, but you will find an answer inside. But according to the fact that there is no public figures, you can guess if it's satisfactory or not. I guess if you sell very well, you can explain about your sales.
Mm-hmm. And you don't have to tell us public figures, obviously, because it's a sensitive subject. But did you get public figures? for yourself?
Yes.
Or figures rather, metal figures. Lovely. Because I know at one point you didn't have them.
For your information, those public figures comes from the publisher. That's how it works. So
Yeah.
publisher communicates the public figures to Wisenet and Shibuya Production. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Lovely. So sort of on the topic of sales is merchandise and Shenmue 3 merchandise itself. Are there any plans for any more Shenmue 3 related merchandise coming out in the next year or so? We've just had obviously the music pack through limited run games and the new collector's edition. Are we expecting anything more to come out? You'd have to say what it is, but I'm just wondering so I can prepare my wallet.
Well, of course, I'm not involved in those things. Usually, it's the publisher makes the deal. It's like for Epic, it's like for limited run games, etc. It's made by the publisher, all those deals. So now the brand of Shenmue is now again famous. So it's regarding the IP, it's interesting to put the Shenmue logo everywhere. So I guess you will see probably some new merchandise around. The most difficult thing was to be there at the beginning. Now there is many people interested to put the Shenmue logo somewhere. So yeah, I guess you will find some new merchandise in the future.
Excellent. Right, I need to prepare my wallet for that.
Yeah, sure.
Because you can imagine we Shenmue fans lap up merchandise like it's going out of fashion, actually. Right, my next question is obviously it's Shenmue 4 related, but you've already touched on some of the question already in terms of the need for or the hope for a bigger budget around Shenmue 4. I think the first question, obviously, you can't answer is: do you think is Shenmue 4 development? You can't answer that. But my sort of question is: how would you guys use the bigger budget if you had one for Shenmue 4? And what improvements would you like to make on the Shenmue 3 base, if you like?
Of course, bigger world and better graphics, because that's clear. Especially bigger world. We have the full story of Shenmue already, so we know where we are with Shenmue 3. So it means in the case we do Shenmue 4, we also know what we need to include in that episode 4. So the budget will be used for that, for sure.
Yeah, and obviously, I presume you've seen sort of the outline for Shenmue 4 and possibly even beyond that, without giving any spoilers away, because I know you might get in trouble. Should we be excited for things to come? Should it get made?
What I can tell to you is, but Yu Suzuki already said it, but we want to make it.
Mm-hmm.
So if we want to make it, it means we have prepared some pitching material already. So what I can say to you is we have some very nice video of the Shenmue 4, but it does not mean it will happen. Yeah. It's like when you pitch a game to some partners. So we have, what I saw is truly amazing in terms of graphics, in terms of everything. So it's so much more than in Shenmue 3. But it's just video at this stage. And video, and okay, we can play a little something, but it's just tests. So we have very interesting material to pitch to some partners, and we are doing it. But once again, that's very important to understand that it does not mean it will happen.
Yeah.
Now we are just pitching, we are just working on it, but we are not working on the development itself.
It's all that pre-development, if you like.
Yes. When you want to sell something to someone, you need to pitch, you need to explain, you need to demonstrate. That's what we do.
And obviously, you can't say who or what, but have any of these pitches happened yet, or have they been affected by the pandemic?
Of course, the main problem is we cannot trip.
Yeah.
last time I saw Yu Suzuki, it was I think it was in US. Yeah, it was in US. Maybe past February. So it's a very long time.
Yes, of
So
course.
as I said to you privately before, uh, because of the pandemic, you have to do many conf call, but conf call is very interesting for follow up. In my own opinion, is you cannot create with conf call. In order to create, you need to have physical meetings. You need to have
Yeah.
dinner. You need to drink wine. That's how we can make the things happen usually.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you. I think conference call is a means to an end, but I think you're right. You can't create that rapport. You can't build those relationships. You can't communicate your message as effectively as you would do in person. So
Exactly.
it's an interesting insight to sort of behind the scenes, and I appreciate the honesty around it. Actually, and I think the fan base will too. But my last Shenmue question before I sort of move into your other projects, because you are a man of many talents. You're not just Shenmue,
Thank you.
and I think that's a message to send out to the community that Cedric is a man of many talents and many projects. But my last Shenmue question is obviously at the end of Shenmue 3, Yu Suzuki's put the message in the game that the fate of Shenmue again lies in the hands of the fans. Is there any advice you would give to the fan base and the communities out there to help that push towards Shenmue 4?
But honestly, it's a kind of same situation than for Shenmue 3. The fans need to make noise around Shenmue and ask for Shenmue 4 as you do every month. That's very cool to see that every month there is some on the social networks. There is some tweets. There is many things regarding. Okay, we want Shenmue 4, etc. That's the way to make it happen, because it was also a part of why we were able to do Shenmue 3. Without the community, it's not possible. When you are able to show to the partners that your community is very active, it's a good point for you. So yes, if you want to do something in order to get Shenmue 4, you have to keep asking for Shenmue 4.
I can reassure you, Cedric, that we will keep asking for Shenmue 4 until we get that announcement, hopefully on an E3 stage in the not too distant future. I'd rather not wait 15 years this time around.
That would be fantastic. But as I told you, I'm very interested to make Shenmue 4. So if there is any way to make it happen, we will do it. And also, it's the same for Yu Suzuki. It's a game of his life. He did
Yes.
many good games and famous games, but Shenmue is special.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's synonymous with Yu Suzuki. I think that the Shenmue name and the want to see that through to the end, and I can assure you that the communities won't rest. We campaigned for in excess of 15 years, so we're not going to stop now. I can assure you of that. So my next question, sort of moving away from Shenmue, and we touched on this in your introduction. Obviously, you're a man of many talents and projects. You just released Twin Mirror across PS4, Xbox, and PC. I'm going to be picking that up for Christmas, actually.
Oh,
because,
great!
Because it reminds me of like those Quantic Dream games, like Heavy Rain and Detroit Become Human. It just appeals to me, so I'm looking forward to getting my hands on it and playing it. Obviously, you've got your manga Blitz, which is already released, and I've been told by one of my staff members to ask, is there going to be an English translation on that?
But for Blitz, let's talk about that first. I really want to have a worldwide release, because at the moment it's only available in France and in French language and in Japanese. So we are lucky enough to have a publication in Shonen Jump in Japan, which is the Bible of manga, with the Dragon Ball and the One Piece and etc., which is fantastic. But and there is now a big boom for chess thanks to the Queen Gambits. Have you heard about that Netflix show? Everyone is talking about that.
my wife told me about it, actually.
Yeah, so we plan Blitz so much before the Queen Gambit, but now with that Netflix show, it's a good promotion for this chess manga, and I really want to find a publisher in in Europe, except France, of course, and in the US, etc. So we have Gary Kasparov as advisor. That's something totally I feel totally amazing because to have Gary Kasparov on a chess thing is to have the best guy on the topic for sure. So yes, for me it was another miracle beside Shenmue is to make my own manga, because that's the first time I'm a creator of a manga, and it's very big work. Because I work with a Japanese partner for that. The designer, the manga artist is Japanese, so there is a lot of translation to do, and we release each volume each 4 or 5 months. So it's a publication like in Japan, which is totally unusual outside of Japan. So yeah, it's a big project for us. And regarding Twin Mirror, it's a very nice collaboration with Dontnod. This the development studio behind Life is Strange, and it's kind of a great narrative game. For Shibuya Production, I was very interested to see if we can do big game except Shenmue 3, because so far we were known in the video game industry only for Shenmue 3.
Yeah.
And it was very nice to see that don't not need our expertise, and we had a very nice collaboration. And this game Twin Mirror first has been developed by Don't Not, but we are co-owner of the IP, so that's really great. We are not just a part of it, we are co-owner of it, and that's very, very, very nice for us.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to picking up Twin Mirror. I'm gonna get it for Christmas. Settle down.
Great.
Over the Christmas period, and I'm gonna play my way through it. It looks like the sort of game that would definitely appeal to me anyway. And I know there's a lot of people out there who've certainly been picking it up and singing its praises. So I'm pleased that it's had a good release. Certainly from what I've seen, I'm pleased to see you sound really excited about it. And actually, one thing that rubs off, I think, is your enthusiasm for your projects. You can tell that you deeply care about them, and it's nice to hear that, I think.
Sorry, I didn't catch it.
Oh, sorry, I was saying, because you have such an enthusiasm for your projects.
Yeah,
it's nice to hear that when someone talks about these things. It's lovely to hear.
That's because as I told at the beginning, I just like that. It's like when we organize the events or something, I want people enjoy. So when I release something with the team, I really want people enjoy. And when we released, for example, Shenmue 3, I was very interested to see the feedback from the players, because I can understand all the feedbacks when it's there is some explanation. I like that, or I don't like that because of, etc. So I'm always very happy to see feedbacks from fans, and it's the same, when I sign some Dreamcast, or I sign for my book, my manga book Blitz, etc. I'm always interested to see what the people feel. I always tell I'm not a businessman, but that's totally true. I'm absolutely not a businessman, because if I were a businessman, maybe I didn't take the risk of making Shenmue 3, or I don't take any risks that I do every day. I just want to enjoy and make the people enjoy. I don't know about because if I remember, you are located in UK.
Yeah.
But now, when I grew up, I was in France, and every day at the TV we have the anime from Japan, like Dragon Ball, Senseiya, etc. But it disappeared now. Young people, a child, etc. They cannot see those anime at the TV, so it's a shame. So I want to contribute. I want to educate them with this kind of great content, including games. So that's why I'm enthusiastic, because I want to promote what I liked and I still like.
Excellent, lovely, really nice to hear. And you touched on this actually in your answer to that. Magic Monaco. I've been lucky enough that I attended in 2019, and I thoroughly enjoyed the event. It was really really good, and I'd happily come back. Um, how did that idea sort of come around, and how did that sort of manifest itself into what it was for the last one in 2019? Obviously, this year it had to be cancelled.
It's a funny story how we started Magic in Monaco, because the idea first was we didn't think about public event. We just wanted to have an opening dinner for the creation of Shibuya production. So we have sent many invitations to our partners, and we have received many positive feedback from many celebrities of the entertainment industry. And I just say, but that's stupid to just organize a private dinner with those people. We should organize something with the public, because people would be so happy to meet those people. And that's how it started, Magic Monaco. So we organized the first Magic in 2015, and I organized by myself. During 3 months, I was alone to work on it. And after, I got one staff to work with me on it. So during 5 months, we organized the first Magic Monaco. And it was very tough work. We got very nice celebrities like the creator of Captain Tsubasa, Yoichi Takahashi, also Yuji Naka, the creator of Sonic, etc., Yoshitaka Amano, Final Fantasy. Many people like that came. And it was a very, very big success, and people really like the concept. From the start, we have decided to not charge people for the entrance, etc., but in exchange, we just limited. So the first Magic was limited to 2,000 visitors only. And because I want people enjoy. I want people be able to get a sign, be able to get a picture with the celebrity when the celebrity allows that, of course. So yes, for me, Magic is a very, very nice experience, and I didn't expect what happened with Magic after that. So every year, more and more celebrities, and now we limited to 3,000 people, but that will be the maximum for sure. We don't do more. And also we have been invited to create Magic in Kyoto by the Japanese authorities, the mayor of Kyoto, the governor of Kyoto. So we had Magic in Kyoto with Frank Miller and many celebrities as well. And the last edition in Kyoto, the princess of Akiko from Japan came, which is totally unbelievable. Normally it's totally impossible, so that's crazy. I don't have any other word. So it's like a dream, it's like a dream. And of course, because of the pandemic, we had to cancel, let's say postpone the previous edition of Magic, and we postpone again because it was supposed to happen in next February, but because of the situation, it's totally impossible. So it will happen next year, next year, I mean 2022, hopefully the virus will be gone, I hope. And it was a problem last year, this cancellation, because we have invested a lot in some flights that you cannot refund, or also the advertisement, etc. Okay, that's life. Honestly, that's life. We cannot win every time, but I still want to continue Magic, even if we don't get any money from that event. But it's just good for people, so let's continue. That's all.
No, absolutely, and I would urge anybody that when this pandemic is finished and you're an anime fan or video game fan, get yourselves out to Magic Monaco. It's a fantastic event. I've been lucky enough to attend, and also Monaco itself is a very pretty place. Although I will warn you, it's full of hills and steps and I wasn't prepared for that when I went.
No, that's really cool what you say about that event, because it's so much effort, to make this, because we are not a event company. We are just a production company. Normally, only very, very big network company can do events like that. So, for us, it's a bet, and so far it's really cool. Even for me, most of the guests I invite by myself. So I'm always happy to check hand and hug the people like Wesley Snipes, or the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh, or those kind of people are amazing, and that's so cool. They accept to come, because once again, very important thing, we are not a Comic-Con, so it means all those people, they come for free. That's why we are able to not charge the visitors. It's not a business. Everyone understand it's cool to please the fans, and I want to please the fans because I was, and I think I'm still a fan. So that's it.
Yeah, and I think it does. I think it's an exceptional event. I'm going to be cheeky now and say, is there any plans on an event in the UK at any point, or is that not on the cards at the moment?
We don't have any plan, but I cannot say it will never happen, because I never plan to have an event in Japan. Can you imagine that a company from Monaco organize an entertainment event in Kyoto? It's surreal. It's totally surreal. So why not organize something in UK? But UK and US, it's the same kind, and now France is the same situation. There is more and more events just for business. People understood that the fans are ready to pay a lot for everything. Yeah. So it's more and more complicated to organize this kind of event. Fortunately, in Monaco and in Japan, it's still possible, but I'm not sure if I organize something in UK, famous people will accept to come for free. That's the problem.
Yeah, no, I can appreciate it. It's an interesting point that you made, actually. Something I never knew, that obviously your guests all take their time and just do it because they want to do it, and it's free, and it's fantastic, and the atmosphere of Magic Monaco is absolutely superb. And yeah, if you haven't been, I'm going to reaffirm this: you get the opportunity to go to Magic when this is all over, this pandemic is done. Go, you will not regret it. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
So my final question, Cedric, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me and your open and honesty around not just the Shenmue project, but also your other projects as well, is, do you have a final message for the Shenmue community and also the wider anime community?
The only final message I can have for the Shenmue community is thank you. Of course, thank you. We just have made it together. Without the community, nothing happened. Without Shibuya Production, without WiseNet, without Yu Suzuki, it cannot happen as well. Without Sega, it cannot happen as well. But the community was a big help for that project.
Brilliant. Thank you, Cedric. As I say, I appreciate you taking the time out of your very, very busy day to talk to me. I want to extend a thank you from not just the Shenmue Dojo, but all the Shenmue communities that are out there. You've played such a significant role in bringing back the franchise and bringing Shenmue back from the dead, that I think the community owes you a debt of gratitude. And fingers crossed for Shenmue 4. And from my own personal experience, I really do hope you're involved in it. I think you're a focal point for this community. You're open, you're honest, and it's very much appreciated, Cedric. So thank you very much on behalf of the Shenmue community.
Thank you very much. That's so nice of you. That's very great words, and I really appreciate that.